What if one coin flip had changed the entire nature of reality as we know it? When Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades divided the cosmos after overthrowing their father Kronos, they drew lots to determine who would rule what realm. Zeus got the sky, Poseidon the seas, and Hades the underworld. But ancient sources suggest this wasn't predetermined, destiny, it was pure chance. So what would have happened if Poseidon had drawn the short straw and become lord of the heavens instead of the ocean depths? The answer is both fascinating and terrifying, because Poseidon ruling the sky wouldn't just mean different weather patterns or ocean gods in charge of clouds. It would mean a fundamentally different universe operating on completely alien principles, where chaos and emotion govern the very fabric of reality instead of order and justice. Today we're going to explore this alternate mythological timeline and discover why the ancient Greeks built Poseidon's entire character around the one element that makes him absolutely unsuited to cosmic rule. To understand why Poseidon in the sky would be catastrophic, we need to examine what made him so different from Zeus in terms of divine temperament and ruling philosophy. Zeus, despite his many flaws and legendary infidelities, was fundamentally a god of order, law, and cosmic balance. When Zeus threw thunderbolts, it was usually as punishment for specific transgressions or to maintain justice. His anger was terrible but purposeful, designed to preserve the natural order and ensure that mortals and immortals alike followed certain cosmic rules. Poseidon, however, operated on completely different principles. His rage was elemental, unpredictable, and often disproportionate to whatever triggered it. When the sea god was insulted or thwarted, he didn't just punish the offender, he unleashed devastating earthquakes that destroyed entire cities, sent sea monsters to terrorize innocent populations, and cursed heroes and their descendants for generations. Remember what happened to Odysseus after he blinded Polyphemus, Poseidon's Cyclops' son. The sea god didn't just delay the hero's journey home. He spent 10 years tormenting not just Odysseus but his entire crew, ultimately causing the deaths of every single one of his companions except Odysseus himself. Now imagine that same emotional volatility, controlling not just the oceans, but the entire skydoram from which all weather, all seasonal changes, all the cosmic forces that govern life on Earth emanate, said, instead of Zeus's thunderstorms that serve specific purposes and follow natural patterns. We'd have a sky that reflects Poseidon's mercurial moods in real time. One moment of divine annoyance could plunge the world into months of hurricane-force winds, while a brief period of good humor might create unsustainable eternal sunshine that burns crops and dries rivers to dust. But the implications go much deeper than just unpredictable weather. Poseidon's fundamental connection to water and its properties would have created a sky that operates according to oceanic principles rather than atmospheric ones. Think about how tides work. They're governed by gravitational forces, lunar cycles, and the constant push and pull of massive bodies of water responding to celestial mechanics. A sky ruled by Poseidon would likely exhibit similar tidal behaviors, but on a cosmic scale. Instead of stable atmospheric pressure and predictable wind patterns, we'd have a sky that literally rises and falls like an ocean tide, creating zones of crushing atmospheric pressure followed by near vacuum conditions. Birds couldn't adapt to fly in an environment where the very medium they depend on is constantly shifting in density and height. The concept of stable weather systems would be meaningless when the entire atmosphere is subject to the same gravitational flows that govern ocean currents. Even more disturbing, Poseidon's dominion over earthquakes would translate into something far more catastrophic in the celestial sphere. Instead of seismic activity being limited to the Earth's crust, we'd have cosmic earthquakes, violent disruptions in the fundamental forces that hold the heavens together. The orbits of celestial bodies would become unstable. Seasonal cycles would collapse into chaos, and the very concepts of day and night would become unreliable as the cosmic order shudders and shifts according to the sea god's emotional state. Ancient Greek cosmology viewed the sky as a solid dome or series of crystalline spheres. But under Poseidon's rule, this rigid structure would become fluid, dynamic, and fundamentally oceanic in nature. The Greeks often described their gods' domains as extensions of their essential characteristics. So, a Poseidon-ruled sky would likely be composed of some form of celestial water or liquid light that behaves according to hydrodynamic principles rather than the stable, ordered movement of current astronomical bodies. This means that instead of the sun following a predictable path across the sky, it would flow like a current, sometimes rushing past in mere hours and sometimes pooling in one area for days or weeks. The moon and stars wouldn't maintain fixed positions or follow regular cycles. They'd drift and cluster like schools of fish or debris caught in oceanic currents, creating a night sky that's constantly shifting and impossible to navigate by. For ancient civilizations that depended on astronomical observation for agriculture, navigation, and religious ceremonies, this would be absolutely catastrophic. The entire foundation of human civilization, the ability to predict seasons, track time, and navigate by celestial landmarks would crumble. Under a system where the heavens behaved like a turbulent sea rather than an ordered cosmos. Perhaps most significant, Poseidon's rule would fundamentally alter the moral and ethical framework that governs the relationship between gods and mortals. Zeus, for all his personal failings, represented the principle that cosmic power should serve cosmic justice. His role as Skyfather wasn't just about controlling weather, it was about maintaining the moral order of the universe, ensuring that oaths were kept, guests were protected, and the natural hierarchy of relationships was preserved. Poseidon's justice, however, was entirely personal and emotional rather than cosmic and principled. He punished people who offended him personally, but showed little interest in maintaining universal moral standards. Under his rule, the sky would become a realm where divine favor and wrath are distributed based on the god's momentary feelings rather than any consistent ethical framework. This would create a world where mortals could never develop stable relationships with the divine realm, because there would be no reliable principles governing divine behavior. Prayers and sacrifices might be ignored or rewarded seemingly at random, depending on Poseidon's mood at any given moment. The concept of divine justice would be replaced by divine caprice, making it impossible for human societies to develop stable religious and legal systems based on consistent cosmic principles. The implications extend even into death and the afterlife, because in this alternate reality, Hades would likely rule either the earth or the seas instead of the underworld. If Poseidon controls the sky and Hades governs the terrestrial realm, then the underworld, the realm of the dead, might fall under Zeus's dominion instead. But Zeus's personality and governing style are completely unsuited to managing the subtle, psychological work of judging souls and maintaining the delicate balance between life and death. Alternatively, if the underworld remained with Hades but he also controlled the seas, we'd have a scenario where all bodies of water become direct gateways to the realm of the dead. Every river, lake, and ocean would be filled with restless spirits and underworld influences, making water travel not just dangerous, but spiritually perilous. Fishing, swimming, or even drinking water would become acts fraught with supernatural risks. Under Poseidon's sky rule, death itself might become as unpredictable as his storms, with souls being swept up into celestial currents rather than following orderly paths to judgment and rest. Instead of a structured afterlife where moral actions in life determine eternal destiny, we'd have a chaotic system where the dead are buffeted about by the same emotional turbulence that governs the living world. For mortal civilizations trying to develop under such conditions, the challenges would be almost insurmountable. Agriculture would be nearly impossible when you can't predict seasonal cycles or weather patterns. Navigation would become a lost art when celestial landmarks constantly shift position. Architecture would have to account for unpredictable gravitational and atmospheric forces that could change without warning. But perhaps most tragically, human culture and philosophy would develop along completely different lines. The Greeks' actual pantheon, with Zeus as sky father, encouraged the development of concepts like natural law, cosmic justice, and the idea that the universe operates according to comprehensible principles that reward wisdom and punish hubris. These concepts became foundational to Western philosophy, science, and ethics. Under Poseidon's rule, human thought would likely develop around principles of adaptation, emotional intelligence, and survival in an inherently chaotic universe. Instead of seeking to understand cosmic law, humans would focus on reading divine moods and learning to ride out whatever emotional storms the gods unleashed. Philosophy would be less about seeking truth and more about developing resilience in the face of an unpredictable reality. Yet there might be unexpected benefits to this oceanic sky as well. Poseidon's rule would likely create spectacular natural phenomena or alike displays of flowing celestial water, rainbow cascades of liquid light, and storm systems of breathtaking beauty and complexity. The night sky would be a constantly changing work of art rather than a predictable map of fixed stars. Moreover, this chaotic system might produce more diverse and adaptable life forms, as species would be forced to evolve extreme flexibility to survive in constantly changing conditions. Human creativity and innovation might flourish under the pressure of needing to constantly adapt to new celestial realities. The emotional directness of Poseidon's rule might also create a more psychologically honest civilization, where the connection between feeling and reality is immediate and undeniable. Instead of the sometimes distant and intellectualized relationship between mortals and the ordered cosmos, humans would live in constant emotional communion with divine forces, developing deeper intuitive and empathetic capabilities. Ultimately, the thought experiment of Poseidon ruling the sky reveals why the ancient Greeks structured their pantheon the way they did. It wasn't arbitrary, it was based on deep insights into what kinds of divine characteristics are necessary for cosmic stability and human flourishing. Zeus's combination of power and responsibility, his capacity for both passion and justice, and his commitment to maintaining cosmic order despite his personal flaws, made him uniquely suited to govern the realm from which all earthly life depends. The Greeks understood that the sky must be ruled by principles of order, predictability, and justice, because these are the cosmic foundations that allow civilized life to exist and flourish. Poseidon's magnificent chaos belongs in the depths where it can inspire awe and terror without destroying the basic conditions necessary for human society. If this exploration of mythology's alternative possibilities opened up new ways of thinking about divine power and cosmic order, please hit that like button to help others discover these hidden insights into ancient wisdom. Share this video with someone who loves thought-provoking mythology discussions. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for more deep dives into the fascinating what-ifs of classical mythology. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most interesting truths emerge when we imagine how different everything could have been.